Hey there, guys. InfamousAmoe here again, back on the subject of Paragon. It's been a while since I made any videos, much less any Paragon videos. There's a variety of reasons for that, but today our goal is to kind of look at the Monolith update and sort of get an idea of the state of the game of Paragon and everything involving that. And if you're a new person coming in, this might help you sort of decide whether you want to choose this MOBA or another MOBA, because we're also going to be looking at how this is connected and how it compares to some other MOBAs. Um, just a whole lot of things how Monolith compares to the last map. We're going to look at the comments down here and the update section just to see what other people think so we can get a variety of opinions and views on it and see where we agree with them, where we don't, and so you can sort of have a little bit of added thought and some, I don't know, just something to think about, but well, a lot of stuff to think about. Every so often, I may pause to go check on this puppy I have running around. He's a little bit rambunctious, um, and right now he is attempting to beat up on our older dog, who is trying to ignore him right at my feet currently. Anyways, let's get into it. First thing we're going to talk about, we're going to just kind of look at some of these comments and talk a little bit about what Monolith is compared to before, and look at Paragon sort of in a timeline fashion and compared to some other MOBAs. Probably in that order. I might flip up the order a little bit depending on how we get here. Now, let's read some of these. I used to play this game every day, a few times. Now I just leave it open to warm up computer. ROFL. Good thing I have, what is this? Battlefield 1. Okay. Congrats, Epic. You, nice little curse word there. Good feedback. Uh, People, easy. Look, I lost interest in this game and I really loved Paragon prior this Monolith update. Still, I had fun, only spent 20 bucks on this game free afterwards, and I had a good experience for almost a full year. Got my money's worth for sure. If you like Monolith, support the game and play. If you don't, just do what I did. Stop playing and look forward for future updates. Okay, this is pretty positive. That's good. Some agrees there. So sort of we're getting the point we're getting into here. Much like some of the previous big updates, of these big updates, like Monolith has sort of split the community of Paragon, I think, a little bit, and kind of understand that. But I think one thing to look at, and it's important to understand if you're getting into Paragon or you're already playing Paragon and you're, figuring things out, making decisions. Um, I believe in the update, if we read, or if I think it's in the video, they didn't actually remove Legacy, I think, because the way they did it, what is that? The way they did it, it said, I believe that they locked it. So maybe it'll come back in the future as an not alternate game mode, and that could be interesting. Um, so sort of what Monolith does, you haven't looked into it, you just want to watch a video, somebody talk about it. The whole goal is to shorten the time that games take, sort of condense things, make a little more action happen more frequently instead of as much early game farming, leading to the 60-minute games. They did succeed in reducing the match time, I think. I've played some games now in it, and I think 40 minutes, just maybe 30 something, is a little bit more common now. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick right now. Sorry if you hear that. Um, what I will say, and I've seen there's some comments in here about it. I think I've seen them before. I took a look just to make sure there was nothing too bad to show in case there's some younger people viewing this. Let me see. See anything. One of the issues. Oh, hey, what's this? Okay. Oh, hey, look at this. Oh, okay, this is a fake apology that he wrote. I thought maybe I don't they don't I don't think they have to apologize because sorry, I get distracted reading. I'm rambling here. Oh no, what is he doing? Second, I gotta distract the puppy. Oh no. Okay, he's good. He's good. Um, anyways, sort of the issue a lot of people have with this, it's turned Paragon into more of a, it feels like sort of an arena fighting game more than a MOBA. Um, it's a little too fast, a little bit too much fighting, and there are certain characters now, I think, that excel more than they used to, in part because of their characters required build up, or they excelled in helping influence that build up that could make a team really succeed. Uh, and sort of to give you a perspective on that in terms of MOBAs and games in general, or I guess MOBAs really, let's kind of look at some of the history of MOBAs. I've played a lot of them personally. Some of them I don't really remember the name of. They were sort of strange. One of them was Dragons. I've played Deadbreed, Dawngate, Dota, League, Strife, or what do you call that? The one that Gearbox made. Well, is that really count as MOBA? I think so. Uh, and just a whole bunch of different MOBAs, even that mobile one. And there's sort of a choice or a difference that comes between them, and it's pretty consistent among them, and it sort of affects how they do things and how the game goes. I really like Dawngate, for example. They did pretty good. It felt kind of like it had a little bit of the elements of League of Legends and stuff. But anyways, one of the big differences that you get is they either focus more on farming or fighting. That's pretty common, or they find a good balance. Like Heroes of the Storm, I've been playing that recently. If you've seen some other stuff on my channel, um, they focused more on sort of team fighting, getting experience using tactics and sort of less farming, less individual. I mean, obviously in any game there's going to be individual success in how well you do, but I think it's lesser so in Heroes just because you kind of share experience. It's you can mess up your team as a whole, but you can't screw yourself over so much that you can't play because your team, and that's all of you doing terribly, which I mean that happens, but that's just how games go. You get better at them as you go. Um, but you can still have relatively high experience and still be capable in fights, even if you do bad early on. You can come back from it. Whereas in games like Dota, it is possible to, if you get behind and farm or you do poorly, you can find yourself in a situation where the other team's just going to roll over you because of it, even if you're the one who did it, because that basically makes your team one person down completely. You can effectively become useless if you aren't careful, and that's sort of what separates different games. League of Legends has found a lot of success in part because they've worked at sort of making the game action packed while still incorporating the farming aspect and the ability to really show how good you are at the game and kind of boost yourself ahead and come out on top of your team as well as the whole game. But it's still important, team fights, ganking, all things like that. Um, and sort of from a timeline perspective, you got to keep in mind. Originally, MOBA sort of spawned from what was it? Uh, I'm just gonna call it W3 because for whatever reason the name has slipped me, but you know exactly what I'm talking about if you've ever looked into it or you played it yourself on W3, which then eventually turned into Dota and then Dota 2. Around when Dota 2 came, or probably a little bit before that, there was a split from the Dota developers team, or one of them, I believe, who went and worked on League with Riot. Is that their company? And so those are sort of your two early MOBAs, pretty early on, Dota, League. And then it sort of progressed and it branched out as the genre got more popular. But there's always been that consistent theme of farm or fight, or a combination of the two, and that's really what makes a good MOBA. And that's why you've seen a lot of them fail, is because they don't keep that in mind. They pay too much attention to one thing. Sorry, the puppy is going wild on the other dog right now. I don't know what he's doing. Um, and what I'm trying to get at is that I do think, in my personal opinion, and it's important to look at everybody's opinion, which is why I'm here in the comments. It can really give you a good perspective on everything that's going on. I do think that it is good they are trying to reduce the time it takes in the game, but I do think maybe it did go a little bit too far. But I think that if they just made this map available with the way it works and Legacy available as well, I think that could be a really nice thing for them to do if they're going to do that. Give people, it'd be a variety to give people an option to do whichever they prefer, because everybody has their preference, and that's just the way it is. And now the puppy is trying to climb a wall. Oh, he's not very pleased. Um, I'm gonna take him outside briefly, and so I'm going to pause this real quick, and I will be right back. And we are back. I took them outside so they could have a moment, play some outside, you know, and use the restroom and all that. And we're back and good to go. Now, where I think I was when I left, we were discussing, we're going to talk about the timeline of Paragon, or at least that's where I probably should be at this point. Um, at Paragon's sort of, I guess, conception, it was pretty simple, I guess. Um, you had your camps, you had your lanes, you killed people, killed minions to farm up so you could kill people. You had your casters, sort of mid-game people, warriors, early game destroyers is what those are. I guess the way it's supposed to be anyways. And the ADCs who dominated the late game. Um, I'm not going to go into all the game mechanics that were popular during that time or sort of those, I guess, the meta changes since then. Not really going to go into that. I don't see a point. It's not what I'm trying to get across here, but I will say basically Grit was good. Grit's no longer, or then it stopped being good for a time, and I think maybe it's come back or something. I don't know. But the big changes that have really happened is the hero balances. And people are also split on this because Paragon has been taking, for the most part, sort of a blanket changes, as they're called, where they change game concepts to balance heroes rather than changing individual heroes as much, which some people like, some people don't. Um, Recently, I think in this last update, the Monolith one, they've more so individually changed heroes or champions, whatever you want to call them, which I think is the better approach, in my opinion. A lot of people, I think, would agree with that too. Um, it's the approach that a lot of the very successful MOBAs have taken, and there's a reason for that. It's successful, it works. It's important to fine tune each of your heroes, not to do blanket changes, which blanket changes do make, I guess, some sense for the early development. I get it there. Make understandable. What is the puppy doing? What? Okay, well, that aside, Um, so what do I get into next now that basically the meta has gone from long farming to now it's too quick. It's sort of arena combat focused, but a lot of people, or at least some people, like that. And there's going to be people who enjoy, people who don't. Point being, if you don't enjoy quick, sort of super action-packed, um, not as much farming stuff in your MOBAs, right now Paragon's in a place for you. Um, Probably. Whereas if you were more farming focused, you really enjoyed that. You got to make sure you get all those minion last hits to cycle when you needed to, or to be careful so you don't get killed, so you don't lose out on CXP, so you can come ahead of the enemy team and even your teammates. If that was for you, maybe not the meta for you right now. It's a little bit quick. That really doesn't work out the same. It is very very different. Um, So there's that. I've kind of rambled on that. That was the topic that I'm sort of it's difficult to generalize or to sort of to break down just because it's opinion based, really. I mean, I think Paragon is still an excellent game. For me personally, I like a little bit more farming. What it provides, even though I love Heroes of the Storm, but it's kind of different. You know, that's just the way it is. And I'm sure they'll do stuff that I'll like in the future. Wow, the dog's really going at it. And I'll come back and I'll make more videos with gameplay. Um, But for now, we'll just do in this. Another thing that I sort of rate MOBAs by is sort of like, wow, geez, this puppy. I'm sorry, he's getting crazy down there. He's acting like he's a big dog. Well, anyways, I sort of rate MOBAs by a few different, um, I guess, points. I suppose, in sort of a, it's not an official system in our brain or anything, but usually I sort of look at it as like a 10-point system, um, with different points to be. This is slowly starting to make less sense. Basically, there's different concepts in MOBAs that are very important and that sort of make the game, and I touched on that a little bit earlier. Uh, but the way I list them is, for one, number one for me, the amount of toxicity in the community. Um, that's important to look at if you're getting into a MOBA, and it's pretty easy after you play some games to sort of rate it, and you can have a pretty good, a pretty good idea of how that. What is this? What is going on down here? Uh, you can get a pretty good idea of where a game is in that respect after a little while. You look at the community post, all that, see where that goes. Um, I also look at balancing. How is the overall balancing? Do most of the characters feel pretty even, or there's some just huge discrepancies? Um, and then after that, I look at things like, is it fun? That's really important. It's great if it's well designed, but if you're not having fun doing it, what's the point? I also look at character design. Are the characters well designed? Do they look good? Do they have any form of backstory? Do they make sense within the game? Are they just sort of weird? You gotta keep all these things in mind. And last, and I think maybe one of the more important things, but not to me as important as having a low toxicity level, that'll be the first of these points we're going to discuss because I'm going to kind of rate Paragon. And I've played enough MOBAs that I feel that I can be pretty confident in that, but it's once again it's a matter of opinion, and this is my opinion. You may have a different one, and that's great because what makes things interesting, what I think is the most interesting about the world and meeting other people is learning about their opinions and sort of um, taking that into account and be like, well, hey, here's my perspective, here's yours, and now you have more information you did before, I guess, not necessarily information, but a different perspective, and that can be really great for forming more of you in your opinion, or you know, that's why if you guys manage to get through all of my rambling, I'd really love it if you guys could comment down below sort of your opinions on the patch, your views, because that I think is really cool. It'll give me a perspective on people who happen to drop by the videos, what kind of people watch these kind of videos, and just learn more about the world myself. Now, first we're going to get into toxicity. Wait, I skipped a thing. I did. The most important thing to me, one of the most important things to me, aside from toxicity in rating a MOBA, um, speed, I think, is pretty important. MOBAs in general do take longer than most games, but it's really important to hit the right balance of time. Otherwise, you can come up with just a not fun game or just really boring experience. Let's go down some of these comments so you can read more of them if you want, instead of leaving it on that same spot. I didn't really think about it. Um, what I think, or let's go to toxicity first. Let's sort of look at Paragon from that perspective and give it that sort of rating. This is where, if you're getting into Paragon or you want to get into Paragon, this is the part you're going to be most interested in, most likely. It'll give you kind of a perspective on where the game stands. Um, Toxicity. Now, the way this works is if it's not toxic at all, you're going to get a 10. If it's super toxic, you're going to get a 1. Zeros, I think, are pointless in this kind of rating system. So it's 1 to 10. And Paragon, I think, in my experience, sits at, I'd say, a 6.5, which is not good, but it's not terrible. As compared to League and Dota, which I would definitely set at a solid 9.5 to 10 even. That's the reason I stopped playing Dota and League entirely. I thought they really were fun games, despite what some people might say about them. The problem is the player base could get really toxic. And I want to talk about this briefly, not long, because I'm trying to hit certain objectives here. But toxicity, I don't understand it. I never have. I understand that people have bad days, but it's just there's absolutely no reason to be. And I think part of it comes from people have this weird concept that when you're on the internet, it it doesn't matter if you're an excuse my language, you're an ass to everybody because it doesn't matter, right? They're never gonna see you. It's just all in good fun. But it's not really true, right? It's still you're still being an ass, right? Like it's not like you get a get out of jail free card just because they can't see you or it's on the internet. It's unnecessary. It's entirely my voice cracked a moment ago, didn't it? That's good. Um, it's not needed. It's pointless, and maybe you're having a good time, but if you're running other people's games, what's why? What do you really gain enough to make that worth it, right? I mean, people play games to have fun, not to listen to some dude complain about everybody else's gameplay, even though his own wasn't that great, or even if it was, still, people are always learning, and that's the point. When you play a game, you're always learning, you're always getting better. So instead of being like, "Hey, you stupid idiot, what are you doing? Get out of there," getting mad and just calling it bad. If you think you're all that great, and if you're not content with the way they're playing, give some, constructive criticism. Let them know what they're doing wrong, or help them out. It only takes a moment of your time, and for that, you might be improving the community, and you might be improving future games of your own. Whereas you're just making them real mad, they're going to go on tilt, and you're going to ruin your own game, assuming you wanted to win. Which, to me, see, now the puppy's chewing on my computer cord. No. But my point being, and it's a moot point, because either you don't agree with toxicity or you do. And if you do, me talking about this isn't going to change your opinion in any. It's not going to really fix anything. But I do feel that it's important to state that toxicity really can ruin a game, and it's important to root that out, I think, or to fix it to any extent that you can. I think it's very important. So I think I said 6.5 for Paragon on toxicity. Toxicity, ooh, the sickness is getting to me. Anyways, onwards. Let's see if I can remember the points I brought up in the spur of the moment. Anyways, let's look at character design. I think there were pictures of some characters up here that we can look at. I'm sort of going to compare them to other characters. Paragon, and also level design, I forgot to say that. I would put it just in terms of MOBAs. I'd say an 8 to a 9 to even like a 9.5. Their design, in my opinion, well, not taking into account lore. Um, I'm going to give that a separate rating. Normally I'd bunch that up, but man, Paragon character design is just so good. The characters look excellent. There's all kinds of little details. A lot of them just look good, right? Look at Richter. He's got his chains and those little things, his electricity, his gears. He's got all this stuff going on him, right? And that's something that I think the company that made Paragon just really excels at. And it's just a really good looking game. It's same with the level. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? Now, lore-wise, I don't know if it's intentional because I think I've seen a post somewhere that want to keep it sort of open-ended so you can form your own speculation. They do drop little hints about things here and there about sort of the characters' backstories, like how Grux has never defeated his grandmother in one-to-one combat, and that's a pretty infamous one. A lot of people know about that. It's funny, it's interesting, and it makes you kind of wonder. I do kind of wish they put some lore on that, like a paragraph or something. I think it'd be kind of cool. Lore wise, I'm gonna have to give them like a 5. If that, I don't think they put a lot into lore, and that's something to keep in mind if that's something you're into. Um, Next up, we're gonna look at fun. Is the game fun? And that's sort of an opinion. So, but when I mean fun, I'm going to look at sort of general ideas that a lot of people consider to be fun or that influence a lot of people on that subject. What a lot of people look at is how much fighting is there? Do you do a lot of team fighting? Is it mostly farming? And that'll also tie into time, the time point system later on. Um, Paragon has changed that sort of ratio of fighting to farming, and what all there is to do on the map over time. Deck building is a part to sort of factor into fun. It is really fun. It's really cool to be able to build your own deck. Have it going into games with your own personalized setup. A lot of people do their, decks from the internet, but it's really fun. It's cool, right? To collect all these cards and incorporate it to the way you want to play your character. Obviously, there's limits to that. If you want to succeed, there's going to be ideal decks. But like I said, just a lot of fun there. Going on to the actual in-game stuff. It's not my favorite ratio of farming to fighting with all the ganking and stuff incorporated and how the junglers work. But it's pretty good. I've played, like I said, a lot of MOBAs, and some of them they either spend too long in farming, and then you get a few little moments of team fighting at the end where it all comes to a conclusion. I don't like that, but I also don't like it when the game ends in like 10 minutes, just because everything happens all at once. It's quick. I do like a little build-up time, and that's me. If you're more into, you can kind of formulate your own opinion on that. Uh, so as a summary of Paragon sort of thing, it's pretty long. There's no longer a very big. There's actually a very small farming build-up time, I think, compared to some games like Dota. Um, but the team fighting time has increased, or what I mean is you're going to spend more time team fighting now or doing kills using ganks, strategies, things like that, because the map's smaller, everything's closer. Um, you're all stuck really close together. And there's a few more objectives to do now, like the gold buff and all that. So, overall, from a fun standpoint, I'd put Paragon at like a 7 or so, maybe 6.5, because I think there are some glaring issues. I just hit the mic. My apologies there. Um, but it's a pretty fun game, you know. And so yeah, 6.5, 7. I think it's around that area because if you ever played Dawn Gate or if you haven't, look into it. It did get shut down. It was under EA, so you can kind of see where that was going, anyways, from the start. But man, it was one of my favorite MOBAs, and it's probably my favorite MOBA to this day. It was a whole lot of fun. It had a good ratio. Just a lot of fun concepts in there, which originality goes under fun. I don't want to go around there because it's hard to judge that with MOBAs because they all use a lot of similar concepts and people can get that confused. So I'm just not going to touch on originality. Um, Anyways, going on to game speed. I think, no, yeah, we'll go to game speed. I think there were other point systems I was going to talk about, but I'm debating because the video is getting kind of long and you don't need to know all of that. I just kind of want to get what the main concept is. Uh, Time. As I mentioned in fun earlier, it is really important to strike a good balance of time in a MOBA. If it's lasting an hour every game and it never gets shorter, or even like 50 minutes or so, your game is too long. Not everybody has that much time. Some people do, and if you do, hey, it could be good for you. But it it's important. Sorry, puppy's being a puppy right now. He's doing something he's not supposed to, but he's done now. Uh, Paragon hits around 40 minutes on average, I think, right about, and that's pretty good. But even now it's still kind of long. But they did it in a weird way where there's just a lot of fighting, and it's sort of this weird, like it's long but it's not, and it's a little bit strange. One of my favorite, time things, or I guess time point, however you want to say it, was in Dawngate and Heroes. Heroes can get a little bit short sometimes, get a little bit out of control, but I do think that it was really cool and that it provided a good amount of time, Dawngate and Heroes. I'd say 15 to 30 minutes, maybe 20 to 30 actually is my preference. That's a really good game time. It's pretty doable by most people, I think. And so Paragon's a little bit longer than I like still, but in sort of a weird way. I'd give them a 5. They're pretty long games, so I'd give them a 5 on time. Overall, Paragon comes out. I'm not gonna average it. It's obviously I haven't gone below 5 yet, so it's gonna be above 5. Take that as you will. It's a pretty good game despite people's angry comments, as we can see here. Let's see. Let's find a really toxic one. Let's see here. Well, hey, let's see what this is about. I like these. I hope they don't change a thing, and all you entitled MOBA pricks leave the community. We don't want people like you here. Legacy was good. This is better. There are a ton of new things that need changing and tweaking, but they want more action-paced game. They have said that since the beginning, if you don't like it, leave. It's their game and their vision. Uh, this guy's making a good point, but in a bad way, and it is their game, and they're gonna make it how they will, and people will like it or they won't. That's just the nature of things. But it is important to look at community feedback in any game development environment. I think, obviously I'm no expert. I've never developed a game, but I have worked in customer service. Um, and I my overarching goal for my life is to go into the culinary field, and one of the reasons I want to do that, and one of the reasons I've always wanted to do that, is because I really enjoy, you know, cooking for people. I think it's really good to try and provide the best of whatever good or service that you can to any given customer, right? It's sort of a pride in your work and a pride in your ability to, I'd say, make your customers happy. And part of that is taking criticism or listening to your customers. Now, the issue is that you have a lot of customers who aren't providing criticism, right? Sorry if my voice just cracked again. They're just providing these weird, angry, and unnecessary comments that they don't do anything, right? They're just being mad, and they're not really expressing an opinion as much as they are simply bashing the company. Um, and that's counterproductive in right about every way. And wow, my voice is dying today. That's great. Uh, that's a recurring theme in all games, and this is running a little long, isn't it? Uh, what I want to sum up is, and this is sort of long ramblings, I guess, it's kind of thing that you'd hopefully you didn't watch because there wasn't much to look at unless you wanted to read some of these comments, uh, which you could do on your own. Just something to listen to and take in mind. To conclude, wow, oh Lord, it's important to listen to other people's. This is a summary. To listen to other people's opinions, to take that and incorporate it into your own life. Use that information, use that knowledge, and make it your own, and do what you will with it. Because um, some people you won't meet more than once on the internet or in real life on a bus, wherever you may be. It's so important, and people now don't realize it. You may not speak to a person again. You might meet them one time, but any information they provide, their opinions, their views, you may never hear them again. And it's so incredible to think about how many billions of different views and beliefs are on the planet, and how many of them you could be missing out on just because you're angry, or you think your belief is the only one, and that you shut up people down and you don't give constructive criticism. You just try to piss them off. Um, and I think that's strange. That now, obviously, everybody has opinions, and that's my opinion. But I do think that it's a concept that I would think would be interesting to a lot of people, a lot more than it seems to be. Um, and that's why I wanted to do a video like this. It's rambling, and it's sort of weird, and it runs off topic sometimes. Me talking about my dogs here, And if you made it this through, the point I want to make is that may be true, but that's because I didn't write a script or anything. Because I wanted this to be not my opinion I thought over and I slaved over. I wanted it to be just from me. Like if we met somewhere on the street or, elsewhere and we were just talking, this is what I would say. Um, and I think that's important to when you're doing things like this, when you're rating things or you're giving opinions or trying to help other people see your point of view, maybe look at some other people's point of views as well, is just to be not, writing scripts or trying to, deciding what you're doing. It's like when you're taking a test. Whatever comes to your mind, whatever you think, that's what you should be saying or doing. Because anything less or anything else is just, it's pointless. It's not real. Um, so right now, I'm not doing any more Paragon gameplay for a time, because right now it's just not a game that I'm having fun at, the way it is. And that's my personal opinion. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't, hate the developers. I don't think they're dumb. It's just not for me right now. And one day I'll probably come back. Um, just, when you give criticism to things, do it positively, make it constructive so that they can get better and maybe you can get better in the process too. I think we're going to leave it off there, guys. Hopefully, you gleaned something from this rambling mess. And there's a good chance that nobody will. But it is important to me, and I think to a lot of people, or, who do their own things like this, just to really put things into perspective. And to share their opinion honestly and wholeheartedly. That might be the same thing. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I certainly enjoyed doing this. So regardless, it's not a waste of time. It was something I really enjoyed. Uh, Other than that, you guys have a good day and a good week. Um, I guess I could have just said a good week and it would have been all the same. And until next time.